So the other thing you then tend to find is players dribble with the sole of the foot. So they roll over the ball because they've got more contacts. You mentioned lots of touches. If you kick it, you wouldn't really get your push and run because you'd kick it and it would roll away. So you've got to keep it close.
Can you explain what we mean by moving with the ball, please?
Yeah, so my way of explaining moving with the ball would be, there's two main ways of moving with the ball. So there would be dribbling and running with the ball. That's how I would separate the two. Now, the biggest difference is space and speed. So running with the ball is you've got lots of space in front of you. You can get up to full speed, normally fifth gear, and the ball is out in front of you. You're taking less touches, but you're travelling faster. As opposed to dribbling, you've normally got some opposition in the way. So it might be your own teammates, might be opposition teammates. So the ball stays closer. You take smaller, softer touches, but more of them, and you're probably travelling at about 50, 60%. So that would be how I would explain moving with the ball in sort of two sub-chapters.
So how can different surfaces potentially help players develop their ability to move with the ball?
If I start with futsal.
Yeah, go for it.
Smoother surface, particularly if you use a futsal ball. We know the ball's going to travel faster, so therefore when you're moving with the ball, it's going to run away from you. So I touched on the types of 1v1 earlier. Often in a futsal game, it's not just the surface, but the court is smaller. Therefore, you get more of the 1v1s or the moving with the ball in close spaces where I receive it quite close to you. And now I've got to dribble or move with the ball or shuffle or feint to get around you. So linked to the surface and the game, the size of the area, you get different types of moving with the ball. But I think the big thing if you play indoors in futsal is the ball will run away from you. So the other thing you then tend to find is players dribble with the sole of the foot. So they roll over the ball because they've got more contacts. You mentioned lots of touches. If you kick it, you wouldn't really get your push and run because you'd kick it and it would roll away. So you've got to keep it close, and if you roll it, you can then change direction quite quickly with that surface. So yeah, that's what you get with that one. The ball's going to travel further, faster, so you get a certain type of dribbling, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to someone who lives out in the sticks. So you look at some of the grassroots pitches that players would typically play on, and there can be long grass, there can be short grass. That's going to have an impact on the ball rolling speed. The longer the grass, the slower it might be, the shorter, the quicker. But by comparison to a hard court, that's going to be quicker again. So I think one of the things to highlight here is how are you helping your players adjust to that? Because in the winter months, even if you play grassroots football, and by that I mean 5, 7, 9, 11 on a grass pitch, but you're training in the winter months on a hard court, be careful, because what you're exposing them to in training is going to be a different surface to what they're going to be playing in a match day. So I think it's you just being acutely aware of that and managing the players' expectations as well. Obviously a lot of teams are fortunate enough to train on 3G, so there can be that sort of standardisation if they train and play on the same surface. So it's just something to be aware of. There's very little you can do about it if you're training on one and playing on another. The most important thing is that people are playing and enjoying the spirit of the game, and coaches are working with their players and having contact time with them. But just managing that expectations around, okay, this is the pitch we're playing on today. How does that link to what we've been working on in training? It might well be that you need to take more touches, be secure with it before you move into acceleration of your start, getting it out your feet. So yeah, just being aware of your environment, training to match day, I think.
Well, that's not a bad thing, is it? Exposing them to different... I mean, you think we grew up on the school playground. That's a concrete playground. We all grew up dribbling a ball on that, and then no one ever said, oh, we're going on the grass pitch now, we better dribble it differently to what we did at lunchtime on the playground. And if you think of the kids growing up in other countries as well, they're not growing up on perfect pitches, dust, concrete, mud. I think the more exposure they get to different situations to have to work it out, yeah, it's letting them know it's going to be different. But I don't think it's a be careful and don't do it.
No, not at all. Because as I said, they can only work within their parameters. They might only have access to a sports hall during the winter months to train. It's either there or not at all. And as you say, yeah, some of my best goals, if I can say that, were scored jumpers for goal posts at my primary school. But you learn on the job. It's a case of, all right, it bounces up off this surface, or I need to take an extra touch. It's just being aware of your options linked to the type of surface that you're playing on. I think that's what a coach needs to do.
The more surfaces they play on, the better. The more exposure they have to different surfaces means that they're essentially getting a bigger bandwidth of experiences and problems to solve. So they're having to find solutions. So when they get to wherever it is they get to, they've got more solutions to draw upon to take to the bit that they need, depending on maybe the opponent or the the conditions or the environment.
And what you'd hopefully find then is psychologically they're less intimidated. Oh, we're playing on this type of pitch today, or let's throw environmental factors into it, like it could be belting it down with rain. That's going to have an impact on the game. It might change the way that you're going to set up.
And that'll make, talk about that, the rain, dew or whatever on the grass, suddenly the grass becomes really zippy.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, because we played futsal last week and it was an indoor hall, and we know what it's like when the ball moves really fast, so expect that today.
Yeah. And if the wind's up or the wind's down, it might determine whether or not you're going to play more in the air or on the deck. So again, we've got to prepare our players for different eventualities in their playing careers.
What would be your key coaching points that you think coaches should reiterate to players when working with moving with the ball?
Dribble into spaces rather than at players. Although recognise that if you are going to dribble at someone, it's for a purpose. It's to fix them, to then move them. I think the ones you said earlier were the best ones. Stop, start. Fake and take is one I would use. So you're going to fake to pass it and then take it yourself. Even those kind of fake to take it that way and take it that way, they would be mine.
Playing with your head up, we talked about it earlier. So trusting it because you've had those however many touches whilst getting familiar with the ball. Navigating a pathway for yourself because you're able to see. We've mentioned the word space. Sometimes the word gaps works for better players because they can see those smaller spaces of a gaps between two players or a player and a byline. And using the ball to disrupt the opposition's movement and not being afraid to stay on the ball. Even if it means that you might not be travelling fast, you might be slowing it down for a reason, that actually you then want to quick it up and move through the gears, moving down. Moving back up against that acceleration, de-acceleration, as we mentioned earlier. But yeah, that trust factor I think is critical, playing with your head up, but it can only be done if you trust what's happening from head down to your toe, helped by however many touches on the ball.